Welcome back to Supermoon Station, and today we're talking to Ben from Keypom.
Hi.
Who are actually living at the near house.
It's awesome.
So, Ben, I invited you today to talk about why we're not onboarding a next billion users, because I'm so tired of hearing it. Like every single ecosystem, our goal is to onboard next billion users. And
Yeah.
why is it not happening?
Well, it's hilarious because it's turned into a meme at this point. Honestly, like I've said it too. It's like, yeah, man, we're here to onboard the next 1 billion users. It's going to be awesome. And every new LinkedIn post, every new Twitter post that I come across, every new partnership is like, we're here to onboard the next 1 billion users. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Here's our NFT marketplace that's going to onboard 1 billion users into Web3 with our super awesome onboarding experience. 1 billion users are going to use this platform. It's going to be insane, right? And, honestly, no, it's not. It's not going to be insane. And the main reason why it's not going to be insane is because the barrier to entry is still too high, right? 1 billion users is a lot of people, right? It's a lot. Right now, I think Near has 1.5 million monthly active users, and 1 billion is a lot more than 1.5 million. That's like a 1,000x, right?
Yeah, just like a little bit more.
Yeah, just a little, a couple more projects, and we'll 1,000x our monthly active users. But yeah, the problem is that there's too high of a barrier to entry for new users. And when we're talking about 1 billion people, then you're talking about a good chunk of the population of the earth, right? And that means that people in their everyday lives need to use this technology. And what's the problem with using it right now? Well, I send you a link to my app or something. You hit sign in. You've got 10 different wallets, right? Each of them with their own different pros and cons. I got to choose what wallet to use. Once I choose that wallet, I get sent over to that wallet and it's like, hey, create an account. Okay, now I'm creating an account and I have to fund it. I have to remember seed phrase. There's crypto jargon, right? It's just a complete mess. Why are we forcing users down the funnel of this KYC nonsense before they even use the app? Like that's so reversed from what it should be, right? It should be use my app first and then register, right? And that's one of the biggest problems in the space right now is the onboarding, right? Regardless of what chain you're on, if you're on ETH, if you're on Polygon, if you're on any chain, you all have the same problem. It's you can't get new users because the onboarding sucks, right? You're spending so much money on marketing and trying to get these people to your apps with these campaigns, and you have a huge loss in conversion because all these people are coming to your app and then they don't know what to do because it's so confusing, right? And so, honestly, the narrative of we're going to onboard 1 billion users is it's not a one app thing. I'm so sick and tired of hearing apps being like, yeah, man, we're going to go onboard 1 billion users. Like, come use our protocol. It's going to be awesome. No, you're not. You are not. We might if we go down the correct direction, right? We as a whole, it's kind of a selfish thing to say, I'm going to be responsible for onboarding 1 billion users. No, you're not, right?
I will.
You might. You're the exception, of course. You should post on Twitter saying I'm going to onboard 1 billion users.
I'm going to post about it today.
It's a big problem. But I mean, at this point, I think it's more of a meme than anything. But once the onboarding problem has been solved, which it has right now, we're the first chain to have solved it. Near has solved it together. It's not just Keypom or whatever. It's us as a chain based off of the account abstraction that's built into the protocol that Ilya and all those amazing people made when they created the chain. That is what solved it because it created the possibility to have really, really cool onboarding experiences. But now that we've solved it, it's like a ripple effect of in your immediate area, right? Near is going to become super, super user friendly, and a lot of people are going to start using it. So on Near, it's just going to blow up, and then all of the other chains in Web3 are going to be like, oh my God, they've solved it. I have this problem. I don't care if you have the best app in the entire world and it's the most fun app ever. I don't care. You're not going to get users if you can't onboard, and there's this high barrier to entry. So once it's been solved, all these companies that are wasting all this money on marketing, all these companies that are not retaining users or not getting new users on their platform are going to go to where it's working. So all of those Web3 companies from all the other chains are going to come to near, right? And then not only the Web3 companies, but now all of the Web2 companies that were initially hesitant to come onto the chain. Why are they hesitant? Well, it's because of the barrier to entry. Yeah, you have some companies like Starbucks doing loyalty points on chain, but how many people do you know that actually use the Starbucks loyalty points that are on chain? Do you know anyone?
No, I don't.
I don't either. Right? It's like they're dipping their toes, but it's not really working. And predominantly, it's because of the barrier to entry. Once again, it's like once you get rid of that domino, everything else will fall, right? Everything else will come into place because the first domino is the onboarding problem. Now you have access to a whole new market, all of Web 2, all of Web 3, and all of Near. And this is why I'm kind of bullish on the boss narrative and the operating system, because we're going to be this centralized hub where all these other chains, all these Web 2 brands are tapping into our technology to create really, really slick use cases. And this, I think, maybe will get 20 million, 30 million, 40 million users. I don't know about 1 billion users for the next couple of years, because that's a lot of users, but it'll help. And the onboarding problem being solved is a major catalyst to get crazy numbers, because now you have access to this entire market, right?
And it's a good point. And we actually covered our adoption during NFT NYC at the main stage, because the topic was something like NFTs, mass adoption, blah, 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 usual general stuff. And I was asked, what can we do to increase adoption? And other speakers were bringing up examples of Starbucks using loyalty programs, other brands using NFTs. I was like, no, that's also wrong. No one cares about NFTs. It's a technology.
No one cares.
That's why Starbucks is using it for marketing. They didn't really care about anyone using it. They didn't care about adoption. No one cares about NFT. Majority of people have no idea what NFT even is. Majority of people never heard about NFTs. Other people here just for hype. And it's a technology.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think the way that we onboard so many users is going to be using the technology behind the scenes without them even knowing it, right? Perfect example is Sweat, right? If, the biggest problem I think is that there's a lot of these technologies that, your everyday user doesn't care about, right? I can give you an NFT for coming to my event, but what are you going to do with it? It has literally zero impact on your everyday life. You can't sell it because it's worth nothing unless I give you this really crazy rare NFT, but I'm not going to give that to your everyday users coming to my event. Mostly you're just creating a new collection and then minting them an NFT with zero value. Great. Now it's in your wallet. What are you going to do with it? Who cares, right? That's not going to drive adoption because there's no value in that addition, right? I was talking to someone this morning from the Near Foundation. We were brainstorming ways to bolster adoption, and we were talking, and it's all of these technologies, all of these products, they don't really have that big of an impact on an everyday user unless it's kind of hidden behind the scenes, like Sweat, right? Loyalty points are great, a great use case for the chain, but if you're forcing users with all this narrative of crypto and blockchain and Web3 and, fungible tokens, they're just going to get scared. I think Sweat does it in an amazing way where it's it's using the technology behind the scenes. The users don't know about it, right? And it's creating a ton of growth, right? But a lot of these technologies that are just kind of like NFT this, NFT that, it's not really going to do anything. And so one of the things that we were talking about, earlier this morning was creating a technology, taking it to the next level and adding utility to these technologies. For example, rather than just dropping someone an NFT, why don't you give them a passport where every single time you go to an event or do something or anything, you get a stamp, or the example that we were talking about this morning was you run a marathon, a 10K marathon, and you get a certificate for doing that marathon. inherently that doesn't have any value, but where the value comes is using that as a utility and redeeming it for other things, right? Like, let's say we then partner with Formula One, or we partner with like Disney. And if you have this in your passport, then you can get some value. Maybe you get tickets to this event, or, if you go to, I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Canada's Wonderland in Canada, it's a theme park. You get the fast pass, you get to skip the lines. If you have this, or things that create value for your everyday user, or let's say it's like you get a free drink at Starbucks, or you get this, or you get that, rather than just giving them this blanket NFT with absolutely no value that no one cares about, tie some value in it, rope in the Web2 brands that people are actually familiar with and are actually using in their everyday lives, and then tie those together to create utility, but push the narrative of blockchain and Web3 behind the scenes. Don't shove it in their face. Don't be like, hey, if you run this 10K marathon, I'll give you an NFT that's minted on the Near blockchain. No one cares, right? But if it's like, hey, go to this marathon, and then if, redeem your thing for like a free drink at Starbucks or whatever, or maybe a free drink every month if you do it, then it's creating a sense of value to the end user. And right now, I think a lot of the partnerships that we're doing and a lot of the initiatives that we have are not really touching the vast majority of everyday users, right? It's not, it's not really impacting anyone, right? Like another example was, maybe you have some sort of one of these NFTs or one of these tokens could be redeemable for like a custom pair of New Balance shoes that you can brand, and you can, customize every aspect, the color, you can embroider your name on them, you can do whatever, you change the shape and stuff. And then now you have all these people with these cool shoes, and they're like, oh, how did you get those shoes? Oh yeah, I got it from this event and stuff. And then it's like, oh, those are so cool or whatever. But creating things that have inherent value that you're not just going to throw in a wallet and never look at ever again in your entire life, that doesn't matter, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to create more utility. We need to push the wallets, push the crypto jargon behind the scenes, and we need to create these experiences that have inherent value for an everyday user if we want to come anywhere close to 1 billion users, right?
And I think people also forget about Web 2. We are not competing with other companies in the Web3. Like, people used to live like in this like crypto bubble, and it's like, oh, okay, like we're competing with other companies. No, if we're trying to increase adoption, if we're trying to bring more users, we're bringing them from a Web 2, and that's a competition we're facing with. And one thing that any entrepreneur, have to focus on is solving a problem. And somehow in crypto, in a Web3, solving a problem is a secondary step.
Yes. Unfortunately, that's the reality, where it's like most people are here to make money, right? And it's kind of like a flipper's market. It's, how do I flip this coin to that coin to create the most amount of APY on this trade and whatever, right? And this is actually why my first startup failed. That's how I got in the Near ecosystem, was I created a company that was an NFT marketplace. This is before there's 1,000 billion NFT marketplaces.
We're onboarding a billion users, right?
Yeah. The NFT marketplace was to onboard 1 billion users. Yeah, exactly. But it was a marketplace where everything on chain, all of the NFTs were in support of social good and impact organizations. So connecting artists with causes that they're passionate about, and then, having let's say someone's struggling with mental health and they draw this beautiful piece of artwork and they want to sell it in support of, CAMH or another impact organization that supports mental health. And then from the donor's perspective, they're giving money, they're learning about these causes, they're, trying to make good in this world. But the problem is that in Web3, no one wants to just give money away. They're all here for the money. They want money. They want to flip. They want to do all this stuff, right? And they're not really trying to solve any problems for the vast majority of things, right? How many NFT marketplaces are there? How many, DeFi trading protocols are there? How many of all this kind of stuff? And they're everywhere, right? It's not just on Near. Everywhere, it's the same thing, right? But where are the real inherent use cases that are solving actual real world problems, right? And it doesn't really, even then, it doesn't need to solve a problem, but it needs to create utility for an everyday user if you want to drive adoption. Because if it doesn't create utility for you, if there's no inherent benefit to me, then why would I use it? And yeah, you could say the benefit is, oh, you can flip cucumber coin for banana coin and get $10 on every trade or whatever. You can make money. But even then, it's like the barrier to entry for an everyday user. My grandmother is not going to know how the heck to convert a cucumber coin to a banana coin and create a wallet, right? And she shouldn't care about that, right? The value comes with these really cool experiences, like, trade this for that, NFT for like this, I don't know, a Starbucks drink or this, or maybe some shoes, or like a fun experience. It doesn't have to solve like climate change or whatever. It doesn't need to solve a huge problem. That's not like what the chain, I think, is meant to do, but just connect people in ways that create value in their everyday lives is how I think about it. And that's how I think we're gonna onboard a lot of people, is by creating that value that actually impacts you in your everyday life.
Absolutely. And you also were mentioning before, a really good point is like onboarding steps are so complicated in the Web3 right now. So you have to create our account, you have to connect your wallet, and there's so many extra steps. And again, if we look at the Web2, what is one of the most popular apps right now that gain so much users in a very, very short period of time is TikTok. Yeah. And when you go to TikTok, you don't actually need to create an account. You can start scrolling, you can start like delving into content without creating an account. And that took over so fast. They onboarded millions and millions of users. And I think these kind of stories are success stories that Web3 community have to pay attention to, that look after, because that's how adoption can happen. It's a utility, it's solving a problem, but it also minimizing the friction. And another thing that I was also a little bit concerned when we talk about the billion users is I really love bringing up China to a conversation because I think they're doing an amazing job in onboarding people to apps because they just require you to use an app. But it's the same case with any actual application, even like in the financial sector. If we look as the United States, all major apps, banks that are being used have either government support, government participation. Here it's a little bit different. In China, government is just dictating a rule, and this story happened with WeChat. It is the most popular, not most, well, it's the only messenger and the payment app that exists, because they just decided that everyone have to use it. So they created so much incentives, and here we go, billion users.
Well, yeah, I mean, the incentives, and I mean, going back to it, it's the incentives and it's the low barrier to entry. Because right now in Web3, again, it's like, why should I go through the pain points of registering before I use TikTok? Imagine TikTok was, before you can start scrolling, you have to go and fund your wallet, create a wallet, go through KYC, input your credit card, buy some Near, and then, after that, go ahead, you can scroll for as long as you want. No one's going to use it, right? No one is going to use it. Maybe a couple of degens from, Near or whatever maxis are going to use it, but that's not going to be nearly as popular as it is right now. And that's really what we're trying to do at Keypom and at Pagoda, is we're trying to decrease that barrier to entry to create those experiences before you have to go and register. Like, why? It's so flipped. It doesn't make any sense. Like, and I come from a Web 2 background, Web 3, so Web 3 is kind of like my first industry. I'm for context, I'm 21. I'm still in university, and I came from this as like a very naive kind of like young boy that was just navigating the world. And I'm seeing this, and I get here, and I was like, why are so many people using crypto? I mean, there wasn't so many, but like, why is anyone using this when it's so backwards? It doesn't make any sense to me coming at this. I'm like, how did this not set off so many red flags from everyone? It's like, oh my God, I want to use an app, I have to fund a wallet. Like, what? It doesn't make any sense. Why should I fund before I use the app? It's completely flipped. But yeah, so combining that with the incentives, right? That's, I think, how we go mainstream, to be honest with you. We create incentives for everyday users and then lower the barrier to entry, and then maybe we'll onboard 1 billion users.
Yeah, and it's also like about like right incentives, because a lot of projects also giving giveaways, bounties for people to join and use. And I'm always saying that you don't want to bring people in who just using your app because they got money and they're getting paid for it, because these users worth nothing. If you're coming to an investor and you're talking about how many users you have, they actually don't really care how many users you have. What they care about is active users. It's people who are actually passionate about your project and going to use it. They look at the retention rate because they want to see how many people are actually sticking with your project and how many people are dropping out because maybe utility is not there, UX is not there, whatever other reason people want to drop out. And what I'm saying my perspective is that we need to create right incentives, values, because why I brought up China as an example is because they're just forcing people to use it. So they can kill pretty much any app, but they cannot kill something that people would believe in. Bitcoin is still majorly used in China because that's the only way they can escape from centralized financial system. And it's not going anywhere because the values are there, because people believe in the utilities. They understand how they can use it, how they can protect themselves from centralized authority using Bitcoin. But there is no this incentive with other apps. If, let's say, U.S. government also decides, okay, we want to promote, and actually it's happening in July, Fed Pay is coming into play, right? Killing Venmo and other apps potentially. So they can do it in a matter of hours, minutes, maybe even seconds. They can just say, okay, we don't want this apps to survive. We have to move all our systems into this new app that is backed by the government or centralized authorities, central bank, or whatever they decide to. And if people don't believe in the app, if they don't believe in your project, they will be forced to switch into this new solution, into this new product. But if they do believe, like with the case of Bitcoin, they never gonna switch.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, it comes down to the incentives at the end of the day. It's like, how much do you believe in the app? How much do you like using it? And yeah, I mean, this is the problem. Again, it's like in Web3, there's not really that much incentive to use these apps for an everyday user. Like, yeah, go to an NFT marketplace and buy an NFT. Great. What then? Or go to a DeFi protocol and, swap banana coin for cucumber coin. Great. What then? These are all kind of like linear one-time experiences.
Shallow experience.
Yeah, they don't really provide any value for you other than maybe some money. But, at the end of the day, people don't only care about money, right? Well, depending, of course, right? But at least, it's one of those things where the value, and this is why I love games. I love gaming protocols. I love, all these things that, redeem this for that, or, play a game that have this built-in aspect of retention and built-in aspect of use it because you want to use it because you have fun, right? And this is why I think games are going to be a huge part of Web3 if they do it well. And this is where the onboarding experience comes into play, is that they can't do it well if there's a really bad onboarding experience, right? So yeah, at the end of the day, to wrap things up, yeah, I think it's lower the barrier to entry by creating slick onboarding experiences, and have projects that create value for you in your everyday life that you would want to use, you enjoy using, such as like gaming, or such as do this task to get 10 Starbucks free, whatever, right? Or some cool new shoes or something that you would actually use and you would actually enjoy using. And then at that point, I think you can start to touch the lives of many, many, many different people outside of this very small bubble that we call Web3 right now.
And what about Keypom? What is the incentive for people to join Keypom?
Well, so that's the thing, is that Keypom is not really a like, hey, everyday user, come use Keypom. We just provide the infrastructure to solve that onboarding problem. So out of the two problems that there's the create awesome value with an awesome app, and then there's the lower the barrier to entry. We don't have like an awesome app that everyone's going to use. No one's going to come to Keypom.xyz and make a bunch of drops and have fun doing that every day, because that's not what we're doing. We're doing the solving of the high barrier to entry for onboarding, right? So we're a protocol that any app can just tap into to create those instant experiences. Like, for example, I can send you a link right now. You can click on it, you'll land on an app, enter a username, and then you're immediately signed in and you can start using that app. Those are the sort of experiences that we're trying to push for. And there's a bunch of different onboarding mechanisms and infrastructure in place. Like Near just came out with meta transactions and relayers and stuff like that, and there's that, and then there's like Keypom, and there's FastAuth, and there's all these different onboarding infrastructure to create different experiences depending on the app that you are and the user base that you have. And all of those are tools that apps will start to be able to use to create these really slick user experiences. And And yeah, this is why I think Near is just so far ahead of everyone else, because we've already got all these tools ready to go, ready for apps to use. But yeah, at the end of the day, like in Keypom's case, we provide the means to create those onboarding experiences, and we're a public good fee-free protocol that anyone can just tap into and use with like the click of a button. So
how technical the audience should be to use Keypom?
So that's a great question. So our audience right now is just an app developer, right? An app developer that has an app and that they have a problem. That problem is, I don't know how to get new users. Right now I'm spending $5,000 a month on marketing and my retention rate is stupid low, right? I'm wasting all this money on marketing. People land on my app and then they get confused. That is my audience, is all these apps that want to onboard users. And we've written everything. We've abstracted all of the complexities of using, Keypom away into, for example, if you want to integrate and be fully compatible with this feature, you need to install our package and use it. And it's a one-line change of code, right? So it's virtually zero barrier to entry for developers to create that like instant sign-in experience. But the interesting thing is that Keypom is not just about that like one instant crypto experience, kind of land on my app and sign in. We have a ton of different use cases, and that's where the audience starts to shift away from like a very basic Web2 developer and more from like a Web3 developer who wants to explore the possibilities. Like, for example, I can send you a link that when you onboard, it'll automatically register you into a DAO or automatically give you, I don't know, cucumber coins or banana coins or whatever, right? Again, not a lot of value, but we provide the means to do that. But definitely the biggest market is just any app that wants to create a seamless experience for new coming users. But yeah, it's all wrapped up in like a super easy to use SDK that you can just import with one line of code.
But I think it makes a lot of sense because your goal is also to help others to build faster.
Yeah.
And onboard next billion users.
And onboard the next 1 billion users. Yeah.
Of course. And how many projects already used Keypom?
Oh my God, dozens. I've got chats with like 50 projects right now. Some small, some big, anywhere from Sweatcoin, Pagoda to smaller projects. Few and far. We got so many projects that are using Keypom, but it's only going to grow. Like by the end of the year, I'm fairly confident that we'll have touched almost every project on Near, in terms of just creating that onboarding experience, because the barrier to entry is so low to support Keypom and to use it in your project that it doesn't make sense not to do it, right? It really doesn't, because it's an additive change. It doesn't affect anything about your app. It's just with one line of code, now you have this slick user experience that you can do if you want, right? And there's a whole other ton of benefits with the protocol as well. But yeah, I mean, we're in talks with a ton of projects, and I think it's only going to get bigger and better. And it's all centralized around Near and Near's account abstraction model. Like everything we do is on chain. We don't have a single database. We don't have a single off-chain anything really. So at the end of the day, it's just using the tech that Near has. And I think that we should do a better job of doing that, of showcasing the tech, because right now it's like, yeah, we have NFT marketplace, we have DeFi, we have, this, but you also have that everywhere else, right? How are we differentiating ourselves from the other chains? Well, we have this really slick account abstraction, but we don't showcase it, right? And so that's really what Matt and I kind of pushed for and was one of the main driving forces, is we need some way to showcase Near's tech, or else it's kind of just like everyone else, right? And so that's really what we're here for. And I'd love other projects to build on Keypom or create their own Keypom sort of esque experiences using account abstractions. Like Ready Layer 1 just hosted an amazing hackathon that was all about, hey, use Keypom or use Near's account abstraction. We don't care. Just showcase Near's tech. And it was called the Flexitech Hackathon. And it's all about showcasing the tech that's built so that we can differentiate ourselves. And another reason to bring developers onto Near, to show them, and so that they've seen all these really awesome use cases that they can build and that they can expand upon. We're just showing them what's possible. And then once we've solved the onboarding experience, once we show all the crazy cool use cases, then we have all of Web3, we have all of Web2, and then we can onboard the next billion users.
And I think you also touched on a very interesting point is they're showcasing the tech, because I don't think ecosystems should be focusing on onboarding a billion users, because it does make sense. It's about quality, not quantity. And as you said, again, showcasing the tech. It's about technology for builders to create projects. It's a builders and their project's mission to onboard people into space, but not ecosystems. Ecosystems should be focusing on builders.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is create the infrastructure to showcase Near's tech. Like in an ideal world, we have all these different companies that are building on top of Keypom or building on top of Near's account abstraction model, creating use cases that are only possible because of Near's technology and because of the account abstraction model that's baked into the protocol. So you have all these different companies showcasing all these different things, right? And now you've got an array of all these amazing use cases in your tool belt, and all these other people are seeing that and be like, wow, you can do that on Near? Are you using like backends? Like, what's happening? How are you doing that? It's like, no, it's all on chain because of Near, right? And then like, oh wow, I want to learn more. Like, let's go, let's see it, right? And so yeah, I totally agree. It's like a trifecta of like builders and onboarding and value and all these kind of things wrapped up, which I think Near has the possibility to encapsulate all of that as the blockchain operating system, right? So that's really why I'm still here after 3 years, is because Near has an insane amount of potential. We just need to go out and build it. And once we built it, stop building. Now focus on expanding and partnerships and creating value, right? Because we don't want to just keep on building. We don't want to get in that funnel. But yeah, it's pretty cool space to be in right now. And I think Near is the best place to be out of all of them.
No, I really love it. I love what Near is trying to do with the technology and with our decentralized part of our things. And I'm suggesting also to change this mission into onboarding next billion builders.
Yeah. I hope there's a billion builders out there, though.
I don't know. There might be. Turning people into builders.
Yeah, we'll see.
So to wrap up this conversation, I also wanted to ask you to share your crazy and wildest story. Everyone got one. You've been here for how many? 3 years?
My craziest and wildest story in Web3 or like in general?
Crypto and Web3.
Okay, because I've got some pretty wild and crazy stories. But yeah, we'll keep it to Web3. I think a fun one was when I first started. Again, I was a naive little boy who didn't know anything about Web3. And so when I started this company, Fair, which was the NFT marketplace in support of social good, I came up with it with a professor at the University of Waterloo that I talked to was like, hey, let's do this thing. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, great, like this is an awesome idea. And then we sort of talked, and then I looked at my phone and it was like, what is blockchain, right? I had to type it up, like, what is a blockchain? And I had no idea what I was doing. But anyway, a couple months into building that, I got hired at Pagoda / what it was previously known as Near Inc. And this is like one of my first ever internships. I was an intern at the time, and one of the very first things that I did as an intern was they flew me down to Paris, and I stayed, really it was Burgundy, so I stayed in the outskirts of Burgundy in a chateau in the countryside with amazing wine, and it was like the craziest experience I'd ever seen. I was staying at this NFT residency at the Chateau du Fay in Burgundy, France, an amazing castle, right? And I'm like, yo, and I called my mom and I got to FaceTime my mom this view, and it's just like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is one of the first ever internships. I'm flying down to Paris, getting crazy drunk on Burgundy wine with all these amazing NFT builders. That was pretty fun. I got a little too wasted and ate way too much cheese in the outskirts of France, staying in a castle for my very first internship. That was pretty crazy. I'll never forget that. And I traveled with my coworker, and there's two funny stories I'll say very quickly. So he'd never been outside of the States, and he didn't speak any French. And I grew up, French was actually English was my third language. First it was German, then French, and then English. But anyway, so I know French, and we go there, and there's these vending machines, right? But they're bread vending machines, like baguettes, right? And it's like pain in French is bread, right? So it's like a dispenser of pain, but it's spelled PAIN. So my coworker is like, yo, they've got pain dispensers, like dispense the pain. And I'm like, this is such a hilariously awesome America moment, where he's like, oh my God, they've got these pain dispensers. And he was laughing so hard. But yeah, the other stories, we went to this little pizza shop, and I ordered like a 4 cheese pizza, right? Like a pizza with 4 different types of cheese on it, right? And at that time, my French was a little rusty because I grew up, I lost a lot of my French, and I accidentally ordered 4 cheese pizzas instead of a pizza with 4 different types of cheese on it. And so we're waiting in line. I'm like, what's taking so long? Right. And I look at the oven and there's these 4 cheese pizzas there. And I start dying laughing with my coworker because I'm like, oh my God, did I just order 4 entire large cheese pizzas instead of a pizza? Oh my God. It was so funny. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy trip, down in Burgundy. That was awesome. It was pretty wild for like your first kind of internship, just flying down to Paris.
Pizza?
Yeah, no, we brought it back to the chateau and we were heroes because now everyone had pizza. But yeah, I ate some of it. I will never forget that. It was hilarious. Yeah, there's a ton of really fun stories from the past couple of years.
I like the pain dispensers. And like everyone has a pain dispenser in the crypto space. You know, it's like
yeah.
Every day you're looking at the markets during a bear market.
Yeah, that's your pain. That's your pain dispenser. Yeah, right there. As you just looking at the price of the coins. but yeah.
No, it's crazy. Thank you, Ben, so much, and thank you for joining Near House.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's such an amazing. So many people I've seen at conferences.
Chateau in Burgundy.
It's not a chateau in Burgundy, but it's pretty.
Texas.
It's pretty damn good, and I love the house. I love the people. A lot of these are people because I worked at developer relations, and so I interacted with the community and members of developers and builders and stuff all the time, right? And a lot of these people that I'm seeing, like, hey, like, what's up? Like, I've seen you at conferences, like, seeing all these friendly faces and being able to live with them and chat with them and build with them and talk with them, seeing what they're doing and seeing how their journey's progressing over time. And I don't know, I love builders. I love I was developer relations for like 2 years, right? Like I interacted with the community all the time, and it's really cool to see organic kind of feedback, organic people that are building and seeing what they're building and seeing their pain points and just like talking to them on an everyday basis. And yeah, it's like a house filled with the best people. It's awesome. I love it.
And like that's the whole purpose, to create trust and make sure you guys meet each other and build relationships.
Yeah, more people from like the core Near team should come to these houses, honestly, to connect with these builders. Because a lot of the time, I mean, at every single conference, we go to like hotels, right? And it's like, okay, great, you're in a hotel room. Then you just go to the conference, right? But if you interact with the community more and you go to these like hacker houses, you go in, you're living amongst the people that you're that are building on your protocol. You get to see very organic feedback. You get to like oh, you pinpoint there. I never realized that because I was in my hotel room the whole night, right? So yeah, it's an awesome initiative, and I think more people from Near and Pagoda and I mean not even just Near, like ETH or whatever, they should do these kind of things because it's awesome.
But actually, what we did like during his Denver, we brought Ilya for 2 hours. He didn't know what to expect, and so we're bringing him. There are like 20 developers are sitting around, are like Near builders that are staying at the Near house. And I'm saying, okay, so this session is going to be off the record. We're not going to record it. So I was like, and it's like some people are really shy, especially builders. Some of them are really shy. So I made sure that I'm going to ask every single person if they prepared the question for Ilya.
Yeah.
So for the first hour, I was kind of incentivizing conversation. So I was calling out people and saying like, hey, you have a question for Ilya. The next hour, people were roasting Ilya.
Oh my God.
They were like attacking him with the feedback, suggestions. He was bringing up such great points and was so useful for the community. And he was also like saying very motivational things like, why don't you build it? Because it's the whole purpose of decentralizing the community. And you know what? People stayed for 6 or 8 hours after he left to work on this problems.
Yeah, it's a very organic way to build trust and build that community because the unfortunate reality is sometimes it feels like, okay, you have your builders, and then you have like the pagoda peeps or the near peeps or, the foundation peeps, and it's very separated, right? But we want to be more decentralized. We want to be, part of the community. And yeah, it might be awkward at first, or people might be silent, but as you start to do more and more of those things, and as you start to put names to faces, and you see people at events, you start to say hi, you start to get more comfortable, right? And then, it just spirals down from there into an amazing, awesome community that's filled with trust and, it's openness, which I appreciate.
And this Friday, we're going to have barbecue, so everyone at the near house have to cook. So
yeah.
everyone have to cook. Sal said he's going to be cooking some Greek cuisine by himself. We're going to have Near Foundation coming.
Awesome.
And we're going to force them to cook too.
Heck yeah, I love cooking. I'll cook everything. I can cook a mean mac and cheese craft dinner.
Amazing. So everyone is cooking together.
Awesome.
Instead of building an app, we're building food.
Yeah, perfect.
Dinner.
Perfect. Come together with a common goal of great food.
Yeah.
I love it.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben, so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Guys, come back to Supermoon Station.